Well, welcome everyone to this introductory chat with our CSAE Visiting Fellows of 2023. CSAE is the Center for the Study of African Economies at the University of Oxford. The center operates a visiting fellowship scheme which supports a residency in Oxford from January until March every year. It's open to African scholars currently pursuing a career in economics. My name is Christian Meyer. I'm with the University of Oxford, and I'm really excited to be hosting our current batch of the CSAE Visiting Fellows. Carolyn, Hiwot, and Tabitha are here with me to talk about their work and what they're expecting to do in their time here at the university. Carolyn, Hiwot, and Tabitha, I'm so excited to have you here. Do you maybe briefly want to introduce yourself, just say 2-3 words about what you're currently doing, what you're currently working on, and talk a little bit more about your research?
Thank you, Christian. As you've already introduced me, I'm Carolyn Chisadza. I'm based at the University of Pretoria in South Africa in the Department of Economics. And my research mainly focuses on examining or exploring current and historical factors that can explain economic development outcomes today. I mainly look at developing outcomes within developing regions such as Sub-Saharan Africa, but I do have some studies where I also look within developed countries as well. So for example, I have studies on causes of conflict in Africa, where I'm looking at factors, whether the commonly known factors that are meant to drive conflicts are actually, do they have the same or different effects based on the type of conflict? Because sometimes we have government state-based conflicts, non-state-based conflicts that are run by groups, or just civilian-based conflicts. And sometimes the factors that may be different based on what type of conflict is taking place in that particular region. I also have a research paper that I'm co-authoring with colleagues on how health aid can affect conflict relapse. I'm also looking at how natural resources can be a channel for societal friction within Sub-Saharan Africa. As you know, Africa is rich with natural resources, but unfortunately, we are also the region with the highest episodes of conflict. So there are a lot of dynamics that are taking place there. I'm also interested in factors that drive inequality as well. And finally, I also work with a team of colleagues in my department. Just a shout out to Dr. Nikki, Dr. Eleni, Dr. Tendai, and Prof. Matthew. So what we do is we conduct surveys or behavioral experiments. We did one during COVID-19 on transition from face-to-face to online learning for economic students. And we found that in general, our students actually preferred face-to-face, and they found online learning very difficult. And one of the main reasons was because of internet costs and access to Wi-Fi. And the data costs are still very expensive in South Africa, right? Currently, we are working on a survey where we are examining how implicit and explicit gender attitudes can reinforce gender inequality in South Africa. So we've just right now collected our data from the general population, and we still need to clean it. So we're looking forward to seeing what information we're going to draw from the responses we got from the population. So currently in Oxford, I'm working on a subject that's rather close to me because I'm originally from Zimbabwe, and when sort of our economy collapsed, my husband and I relocated to South Africa, where we've, settled. We've been there for almost since 2005. That's about more than 15 years we've been there. And I'm working on xenophobia in South Africa because it's sort of reared its ugly head, unfortunately. And there's a lot of media narratives that are coming out. And while I'm interested in identifying the mechanisms that could be driving or increasing the anti-immigrant sentiments that we are observing in South Africa, and also if citizens believe that it's affecting their quality of life. So that's what I'm working on while I'm here in Oxford. I'm using existing survey data that's already available from a organization in South Africa, the Human Science Council for Research. So they've got like surveys they've been gathering from a sample of population since 2003, and they do have some questions they ask related to how the citizens feel about living and working and interacting with foreign migrants. So I'm still to see what information I'll get from that, but hopefully it will not be as depressing as the news that we get from there. So yeah, so that's me in a nutshell.
That sounds super fascinating. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Maybe next, Hiwot, if you want to talk a little bit about your research in general and the work that you're hoping to do at the university.
Thank you, Christian. So my name is Hiwot Mesfin. I recently completed my PhD from Maastricht University, where I worked on 3 different essays. One looks at they look a bit unrelated, so bear with me. So one essay looks at the effects of overconfidence and trust on farmers' information-seeking behavior. Another one looks at the effects of sibling sex composition on human capital formation and gendered time allocation. A third chapter looks at the effects of social protection programs on social capital formation. And now in my time in Oxford, I'm extending my work on the social protection project and investigating further outcomes. So some unintended effects of conditional and unconditional cash transfer programs on self-esteem, expenditure on temptation goods and political participation, etc. And I'm excited to present the results at the internal seminar.
That sounds great. Maybe last up then, Tabitha, if you want to talk a little bit about your work.
Yes, my name is Tabitha Kiriti Nganga from the University of Nairobi. I'm a professor of economics in the Department of Economics and Development Studies. And I have been there for the last 38 years and specializing in international trade, gender advocacy, issues to do with social protection, poverty, food security. That's generally has been my area. And of course, you can see that these are cross-cutting areas. So that's why I venture into anything to see whether issues of gender are actually mainstreamed. So I have worked all these years. I have produced more than 50 journal articles. I have managed to write 15 books, done 11, 11 policy briefs, 2 book reviews, 3 working papers, 1 discussion paper, and 33 book chapters. And all these are actually looking more or less on how gender issues have been mainstreamed. And of course, when it comes to food security can be looked at from a gender point of view. And I'm also the chair of the WTO Chairs Program at the University of Nairobi, which we were granted by the WTO, that's the World Trade Organization, in 2010. We were part of about 14 universities, and I have been the chair. Initially, I was the co-chair, and from 2017, I'm now the chair, and I lead a team of more than 20 lecturers, including PhD students, as well as master students, who are interested in doing trade. And during the COVID-19 period, we did a lot of research, and what we generally do is, apart from the teaching of international trade, poverty, food security, we also do research, and we also do outreach. Outreach meaning that we work together with the government, and we actually work as the consulting arm of the government. So we have actually consulted with government on issues to do with trade agreements, issues to do with trade policy, and we did research on the impact of COVID-19 on international trade in Kenya. And we produced 8 papers, and we put it into a book, and it's now with the EOS's book publishers in South Africa, and it will be coming out towards the end of this month. So here in Oxford, I'm working on gender mainstreaming of trade agreements, and in particular the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, because trade agreements are actually the basis on which we can actually achieve SDG 5, that is to do with the gender equality. And so I'm using textual analysis, looking at how gender-related issues are actually in each and every article in that agreement. And using textual analysis, it means that you just don't look at the words. You also look at in what context. Is there a commitment? Is there implementation? Is there monitoring and evaluation? So far, that's in a nutshell, that's what I've been doing and I'll be doing.
Great. No, that all sounds super, super fascinating. And I look forward to speaking more about your work over the next weeks and months. Maybe before we leave it, I'm just going to ask you all what you're hoping to do while in Oxford that's not related to your academic work.
Thanks, Christian. So from me, Carolyn, I intend to do some touring. So actually at the end of the fellowship, my twins and husband will be joining me, and we're going to have 2 weeks of vacation. So we're going to tour a bit of Oxford. Then we're going to go to London and do the usual tourist sites there, and then visit a few family and friends that we haven't seen since pre-COVID. So that's pretty much what we will be doing here before I head back to sunny South Africa, because the weather here is not kind.
It's indeed, it is not. No. Sorry, Hiwot.
Yeah, no, maybe Carolyn's plans seem more exciting. No family is joining me and Tabitha, unfortunately, but we're planning some sightseeing to do. And we're going to start with the Museum of Natural History sometime this week, actually. And hopefully in March, we will go to London and visit some places there. So.
Yes, for Tabitha, I needed to take a tour of Oxford University, because most of the time it's just been my unit and the office, unit and office. So I've actually not gone out of Banbury Road and, Manor Road. So I actually do not know what is outside there. So I need to do that, the university and Oxford City. Apart from that, I will need to take a ride in the red double-decker buses, because I'm actually excited when I see them. Apart from that, I need to take a tour, and I think Hiwot has mentioned, we see River Thames, a tour of Westminster Abbey, take a look at Buckingham Palace from afar, create networks and make friends, and of course, some for British food.
Very good. Let's leave it there. Again, very much looking forward to hearing more about your work over the next weeks and months. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining this chat. Thank you so much for being in Oxford with us. It's really exciting, and we'll talk more.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting us to Oxford. Thank you.
Thank you.